Hey there, friends. This is Bill MacDonald, the Common Sense Math Lecturer, and I wanted to say that there's a huge difference between whole numbers from 1 to infinity and beyond and fractions, as well as whole numbers from 1 to infinity and beyond, and any decimals in terms of tenths, sorry, tenths, hundredths, thousands, or cents if you're in the lower grades. The reason that about half of the students in the entire state of Texas got this question wrong is because they are not checking what the question is asking compared to what the problem is presenting. And it's real important that they mind their P's, the problem information, and their Q's, mind their P's and their Q's. They might have understood the question correctly, but in the case of this question or the one that it's modeled after, unless they look at the problem and what it tells you about whole numbers and decimals, then they're going to get it wrong. Let's take a look at the one that I modeled it after the state so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, let's check the question like a lot of students like to do. What is the value represented by the shaded part of the model? Well, this could be ones, tens, and hundreds and thousands, or it could be ones, tenths, and hundredths. So if you don't look at the problem where the period is, you'll be like the 49% of the students who did not know how to find the value of a decimal that is less than 1. So as soon as you have your kids see the words decimal less than 1, have them write 0 and or 0 point something. This is in Texas, student expectation 4.2E, supporting standard, something they should learn in 3rd grade. So we need to make sure we're practicing all of these. So what I think should happen is you should get something like what I'm about to show you. Here's the base 10 blocks to draw the shapes, the whole numbers, the pictures. And so if they were asking for whole numbers, there would be thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones, and then an imaginary decimal that's behind all of the whole numbers and nothing else. Okay, so the students who got it wrong, or at least most of them, understood or thought that there were 3 tens there and 8 ones. 3 tens meaning 30 in expanded form plus 8 in expanded form and nothing else. So what that would look like in picture form, I went ahead and just got a graph paper so I could save some time. So that would be 3 tens and 8 ones if we're talking about this being tens and these small squares being ones. But unless you have something like this where you take it to the next level like I do here, models represent decimal numbers with values less than 1. This would be ones. And because it said less than 1, right away, like we did in the problem, I went ahead and wrote 0 point something. That means that the only answers, the only other numbers can be on the right side of the decimal. So how many of these tenths do we have? Let's count. 1, 2, 3. So we'll put 3 in the tenths place. And how many of the little tiny squares do we have? We have 8. So that would be 8 hundredths. And so that's what the number would look like. And what I draw a picture, well, I've gone ahead and since we know that values that are less than 1 would be not even one whole 10 by 10 100 chart, it would be less than 1. So 0 and 3 tenths and 8 hundredths, and I even kept the colors the same. So maybe one thing that you can do is possibly say, let's use one color for hundreds, tens, and ones, and a different 2 colors for not for ones, tenths, and hundreds, because they're going to look different to your kids. And so that would be the next step. And then the final step would say, okay, well, they're asking for it in word form, so I'm going to just keep going. If I'm doing decimals, then it would be 0.38, 3/10, 8 hundredths, or decimal 0 and 38 hundredths. If it was a whole number, it would be 38 point nothing else, 38 and nothing else, or 38. But since they said it was less than 1, it would either be 0, and this is expanded, expanded, separate, stretch it out. There's no thousands, no hundreds, no tens, no ones that you can just plug in. It's just 0 and 38 hundredths, or 38 hundredths, and you can skip saying that. If it was the other way, it would have been 3 tens plus 8 ones, or 3 tens, 30 plus 8 and 0 tenths. And finally, what they were looking for, it would be 0 and 38 hundredths in word form, because that's what they asked for. Spell it left, right, word form, spell it left, right, 30-8 hundredths. And the whole number form would have been 38, or 38 and nothing else. So when you look at the answers, because it did say less than 1, I'm looking for this one here, the shaded decimal, to represent the shaded part. So the shaded decimal would be 3 tens for 30, 8 3 tenths, and 8 hundredths, which would be letter A. Letter B, there's a row of 3 there, and there's 8, but it wouldn't be tenths, it would be hundredths. So this has nothing to do with anything at all. If the students got it incorrect and they didn't pay attention to this was shaded to represent a whole number greater than 1, then they would have written 38, which was probably a big distractor. Now, one more thing you might want to add to do an extension, this is incorrect, but if they were to have asked your students for the unshaded part of this, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me make sure I did this. It would be very close, but it's still off by 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tenths. Okay. 6 tenths and 2 100ths. So it would be 62 hundredths, or 0 and 62 hundredths. But if the kids are being careless, they would probably, because they see some white here, they would say, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. This is what they do accidentally. They just count the bottom row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths, and then add 2, where they would have gotten 72. Now, so just be careful that you make them also check, are they asking for the shaded or the unshaded? Also, are they asking for a whole number greater than 1, or a decimal less than 1? So that's how I suggest that you help your kids analyze all the different ways to put the numbers. That way, no matter which one they ask your students for. Ah, expanded, standard form, write out the numbers, word form, picture form, all of the different possible ways. So share this with your math teacher friends who are working on um, models with whole numbers and decimals so we can differentiate between them, and knowing the difference also between the shaded and the unshaded. You guys take care and have yourself a wonderful day.